Welcome back here today for, well, not here today, you've already had a stream earlier, you've got one now and then one a bit later. I'm just gonna quickly check something. Okay, yeah, so here's your starting grid in Monza for the sprint race. Sergio Perez on pole as Ferrari look out the front row. It's P2 for George Russell, with Valtteri Bottas third on the grid, Charles Leclerc in fourth, with fifth place being Andrea Kimi Antonelli. It's a great qualifying event for the likes of the Haas cars, with Oscar Piastri in P6, Lewis Hamilton P7, Carlos Sainz down in 8th, Max Verstappen 9th, Yuki Tsunoda 10th, with Taro Pourchaire being the first of two V-carbs in P11, Liam Lawson 12th, Pierre Gasly 13th, Alonso 14th, Ricciardo 15th, Colapinto in 16th, Albon 17th, Behrman 18th, Hajar 19th, and then Norris will be starting from the pit lane for the sprint race here. Anyways, let's get into it.
It's time for a sprint around Monza. And it's lights out and away we go.
And now I'm going to quickly retire my two cars so I don't have to. And then we can have just flat out racing, can't we? Piastri has also decided to take a pit lane start here, and away we go. It's Sergio Perez versus George Russell up into the first corner. Valtteri Bottas looks like he's got a good start as Perez will lead. Russell has to fight Bottas through turn 2 though, as Bottas will just get ahead of the Ferrari, but don't worry, there's more action further back. Carlos Sainz up into P6 here from the start. It's looking really good for Haas and the Saubers, but even better for Ferrari as they're both cars on the podium at the moment. As you can see just there, there is Sauber, little battle going on there as we progress onto lap 2 quite swiftly. This is the point of the sprint. There's 18 laps of rapid action and then we go into the full race with a simulation of quali. Lewis Hamilton dueling with Sainz through turn 1 and 2 though. Sainz in the Williams just able to hang on a bit better as there's Hamilton round the outside, down the inside for a second bar of chicane, up into P6 he goes. Taro Pourchaire has picked off the other Sauber, however, as Valtteri Bottas takes the lead down into Ascari. You can see there Carlos Sainz trying to fight back as there's been a massive crash. Antonelli and Charles Leclerc both crash out here. Let's have a look at that. Leclerc DRS on Antonelli, heading down under braking. Leclerc just gets a bit there, he goes into the back of the Haas, and that is absolutely horrible for the Red Bull as there's yellow flags. That's now swiftly cleared up as now Bottas just has to hold on against George Russell and Sergio Perez. Perez down the inside, unable to get past. Charles Leclerc given a race penalty for that incident with Antonelli on the second lap. 5 seconds for collision caused. As now, what can Ferraris do? George Russell may be swapping places with Perez. If so, that will be crucial for his championship, as they are desperately trying to push themselves up to Valtteri Bottas, as Bottas has had an amazing race here in Monza. He won the first ever sprint in Monza in 2021. Can he do it today? Perez to the inside, George Russell going to join, and Russell down the inside of Bottas tried making it double move in that first corner, so unable to do so. Perez now leads this sprint race with 15 laps to go. That's Pourchaire in 6th. But now DRS in play. You can see there the two Ferrari swapping places round, as just further back Pierre Gasly overtaking Daniel Ricciardo. Max Verstappen trying to find a way past Alonso, as Sainz preparing the move for Hamilton now. down the main straight. DRS for both the Williams and V-Carb, just pulling themselves up along. It's wheel to wheel into the first corner. Lucky for them not to end up into the runoff. As Sainz dueling with Hamilton now through Curva Grande, still wheel to wheel. Sainz finally getting move done, but into Lesmos, it had to be held off beautifully there, as Perez all over the back of Russell, with Bottas lurking in the background. They've gone 3 wide there. Could have been a big moment for Valtteri Bottas here. As we now finally hit a third stage, we're now on to lap 6 of 18 here in Monza. Perez to the inside of Russell. Will he get the move done? Yes, he will. But will Bottas be able to capitalise? He won't. Great defence there, as Porsche versus Yuki versus Verstappen. Yuki overtaking Max there, trying to wrestle his way around the outside. We've seen numerous moves there, but this time the Mercedes unable to get it done. As this race really proving to just be like a drag race for the most part. Just shows how close everyone is. As Alonso will to Porsche just squeezes him wide. As this is a really important drive now for V-Carb. Big chance for Ferrari to gain some crucial points here. As now, Bottas, he's just behind Russell. Verstappen and Yuki still wheel to wheel. Yuki, can he make it P8 here for himself? Through Curva Grande, there you go. Will it happen? Currently not. Verstappen comes off beautifully as Gasly round the outside of Albon there, up into P10 for the Mercedes. 9th and 10th for Mercedes, looking good out there. Terry Porsche now DRS on Carlos Sainz, who has some on Lewis Hamilton. To the inside he goes. They will duel through Ascari, run up to Parabolica now. They are still going at it. And now out around the outside goes Sainz. Going to get better traction. Think he also has DRS. Yes, he does. Past Hamilton round the outside. Terry Porsche also getting the move done, but Hamilton tries to fight back in turn 2. He will do so through Curva Grande. They now go Hamilton versus Terry Porsche. Will it be the V-Carb or Sauber leading after that corner? It will be the Sauber. As let's have a look now. Bottas DRS on Sergio Perez. Let's hope it's not the second fatality of a Haas in this race, as it won't be, but they will continue to fight. Bottas catching up with Perez now, going through the DRS detection. Bottas will get some DRS here, but so will Russell. Bottas to the inside of Perez, 10 laps to go here. Bottas up into the lead. Perez versus Russell duel through the first 2 corners here. This is a great race being held in front of the Tifosi crowd, with Ferrari both at the fore end. As now Porsche looking to possibly overtake Hamilton, give V-Carb an extra point, while Norris is down in 16th here. Now DRS assistance for Porsche just cruises past Hamilton. To the inside goes Carlos Sainz, up into P5 he goes. Perez and Russell, however, tucked up right behind Valtteri Bottas, the championship leader, versus Haas and his own teammate here. Russell up into the lead. Perez follows through. He takes P2, Bottas down into P3, as you see a nice and lovely little train going down the whole pecking order there. As Antonelli and Leclerc both off pace due to the damage they picked up from their early tussle. DRS now for Carlos Sainz. Can he go to the inside? He will go to the inside. Will it be a move? Yes, it will. As the Williams now takes the lead here. But, well, the lead in this train, that's better phrasing. Hamilton trying to fight back. Verstappen round the outside, up into P6 for the second of the Saubers. As you can see there, it's just a massive mess. Hamilton versus Sainz versus Tsunoda versus Alonso. This is what you want to see in Monza. Just absolute chaos. As there's Sainz, Verstappen still stuck together. Sainz ahead of Hamilton. It wasn't Verstappen, my bad. Bottas, however, overtaken by Perez into the Ascari chicane. Bottas is going to drag race up into Parabolica, tries to find a place to make a move, unable to do so. Now him and Russell both get some DRS on Sergio Perez. Bottas goes to the inside, Russell goes even further down the inside. They luckily stay out of each other's side pods as Bottas now dueling Perez. Will he secure the move? To the outside he goes here. It's some defensive work indeed for Perez as he goes around the outside in the Lesmos. He gets the move done, but Bottas now DRS once again into a Ascari chicane. They go, Russell overtakes Bottas and overtakes Perez maybe. Out of Ascari, they're still dueling. Bottas just tucked up nicely behind him once again. Great chance to get a rocket ship launch out of this corner. Who's got DRS, Perez or Russell? It will be Sergio Perez. No, it's Russell, as Bottas just covered off by Perez. Lets Russell breathe for a minute, and arguably lets me breathe as well, because yeah, this is a mouthful. Verstappen forced wide by Alonso there and comes back into play right in front of Hamilton's path, as that's helping Gasly now progress his way up the field, as Alonso is running off with Carlos Sainz as a result. Now DRS for the Aston. He looked to the outside, now he goes to the inside for the Ascari chicane. Sainz just better traction. Hamilton and Verstappen both overtaking Gasly there, as Norris here fighting over P10 with Yuki Tsunoda. Just how much this race changes in so little laps, it is insane. Norris DRS on the two Mercedes, as you see there, Hamilton to the inside of Verstappen. The two Saubers dueling. Hamilton wins this duel this time round, as Bottas very much trying his best to hang on inside DRS range of the two Ferraris, keep his hopes of winning the sprint race alive here. Russell to the inside and up into the lead he goes on lap 14, soon to be lap 15 here. But Perez fights back. He looks to the inside in Parabolica. He now gets DRS on Russell. Bottas, however, will get DRS on Perez. Will there be a free ride moment? Perez down the inside of Russell. Bottas tries to fight this new Ferrari and beat of Russell, but unable to do so, as Alonso still leading this train. Hamilton versus Gasly through Curva Grande. Gasly on the outside. He takes the inside for this 4-5 chicane, and he will move up into P7 as Yuki overtakes Max Verstappen. Norris follows suit. Norris could be looking at points here if he plays it right. Yuki just overtaken by the V-Carb now. Really good chance for Norris to overtake Hamilton here. To the inside for Parabolica. Will he stick a nose? He will, but he's not close enough to get the move done. Sainz alongside with Alonso here. Down into turn 1 they go. Sainz better under braking, brakes a bit later, but Alonso just better grip, better traction. He hangs on here. And now Gasly versus Sainz over P6 here. Gasly down the inside in Nesmo 1. He gets up into P6. Russell, Perez, Bottas still unravelling. 3 laps to go, it's said, for the most part of this lap. To the inside goes Perez on Russell, unable to get past. However, the Ferrari and the Haas now DRS on George Russell. Championship leader has to defend to the inside. Bottas passes Perez and Russell into turn 1. Now he's got a chance to be let free as Russell has a little mistake in the second corner. 6 tenths now in Bottas's favour. Great chance to try and pull away as through the Lesmos they go. Bottas ever so slightly gaining a bit more time. But will it be enough? 7 tenths into Ascari. Now it's 3. Now make it 2, but it goes back up to 3 quite quickly, as now it's a drag race up to Curva Grande. Down the inside goes Russell. Looks like Bottas will get some DRS here. He now gets DRS for the final lap. Is he? No, it's Russell who gets DRS. That's really misleading based off where detection points are. But now Bottas, can he fight back off? As there's Gasly versus Alonso. Gasly forced off. He drops down to 11th now. Mercedes, 0 chance of points here. But Sainz fending off Yuki and Max over the 1 point remaining. However, let's chime in here. Bottas to the inside, unable to get the move done. He's going to have to really try and overtake in the final corner here. Will it be Russell? Will it be Bottas? Russell will win as Bottas chooses not to overtake there. but Russell wins the sprint here in Monza. Alonso, however, will come home P5. Norris P7, great drive from last. Sainz an 8, Yuki 9, Verstappen 10. But yeah, it's all gone down to the end, as something which happened very early on saw the end of these two drivers' races. Leclerc in 19th, and then Andrea Kimi Antonelli will come home plumb last. It's a pointless sprint race for the Red Bulls, as it was very good for the Haas cars. They came home P2. As here are your sprint results. George Russell wins, followed by Valtteri Bottas, Sergio Perez, Teo Pourchaire, Fernando Alonso, Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, Yuki Tsunoda, Max Verstappen, Pierre Gasly, Oscar Piastri in 12th, Ricciardo 13th, Behrman 14th, Albon 15th. Then the two McLarens of Lawson, then Colapinto 16th, 17th, Hadjar in 18th, Leclerc 19th, Antonelli in last. As do not leave us, we are going straight to qualifying for the main race. We will just quickly whiz through this session. I'm not going to simulate, because if one of the cars do crash out, my drivers do start ahead. But yeah, let's just watch this go down. And this is a great chance for me to fuel myself up with liquid before the race. But yeah, at least you get to see Q1 once in a while. Yellow flag for Alonso running wide turn 5. As currently Porsche tops it with 10 minutes remaining here. Leclerc towards the back end, probably suffering some damage, maybe even an old spec component due to his incident in the sprint race with Antonelli. But yeah, the car with best top speed is going to be the car who wins here, and I personally think it's between Haas and Ferrari. Final 3 minutes, Behrman, Lawson, Perez and Leclerc all at risk, as everyone's out on track by the looks of it. Leclerc up to second, Perez, he sets a lap. No, he's on a lap at the moment. He will put himself 17th in the Ferrari, unable to make his way into the second session here, as Porsche tops it, then Leclerc, then Bottas. So let's see what it is in Q3. However, Valtteri Bottas, pole position for Haas. Then it's Leclerc, Piastri, Liam Lawson, which is a fairly big shock. Then George Russell, Norris, Verstappen, Colapinto, Alonso, Porsche, Hamilton, Yuki, Sainz, Albon, Ricciardo, Hadjar, Perez, Behrman, Gasly, Antonelli. Anyways, let's progress to the main race now, as we see who will win. For those in chat, please put a prediction in.
Here we go. It's the Italian Grand Prix.
As I didn't check who had a pit in start.
And it's lights out, and away
Teo
we go.
Pourchaire starts from pits. Anyways, let's get underway here. Bottas versus Leclerc versus Piastri into turn 1. And now, Bottas just managing to get away through first corner. Lawson's dropped behind Verstappen. He's stepped a wheel in the gravel. As both of my cars retire. Whoop-de-doo-dah is what I'll say to that, as Norris overtakes Alonso up into P7. But Alonso just hanging on through Lesmos, but it looks almost certain Norris gets place. Liam Lawson has got some defending to do, as you have Lewis Hamilton behind the other McLaren, so there is quite a bit of work to do here. As onto lap 2 we go. 53 laps here at Monza. the quickest race time on the calendar. To the inside goes Leclerc, Bottas, Russell fighting Piastri there, and moves himself up into P3 by the looks of it, but Piastri will hang on through Curva Grande. Verstappen had a look, he's going to have a peek down the inside, but squeezed out. Liam Lawson, however, capitalises and moves up into P5 here. Great opportunity for points in terms of McLaren. They haven't scored since the season opener here, and they're currently 5th and 9th after an early start. Bottas looks to the outside of Leclerc, unable to get past as of now. The top two running away, Piastri bending them all off from behind. Bottas to the outside of Leclerc, he gets past. Russell overtakes Piastri as he starts to lead the whole train down the field. Colapinto fending off Fernando Alonso here. Around the outside goes the Aston Martin. Is he going to go down the inside? He has a look, but unable to do so. Colapinto holds on to P8 here, as Porsche currently in his own world at back. Verstappen down the inside of Lawson. Still gets told no is the best way to put it, as they've all caught back up with Bottas and Leclerc. They've dropped their pace over last lap. Bottas has Leclerc just breeze past. Russell, he's got Perez on his outside. He's got a Red Bull for company. Who's the quickest car though in straight line? I thought it was Ferrari, but I actually think it's Haas, based off how Bottas got pole. But then the Red Bull were also really high up in second and third. This could be a good chance for them to reignite their constructors charge. They're good 90 points off Ferrari in P2, and if they can at least gain 10 points, they can start being a bit more consistent. Leclerc, DRS once again on Valtteri Bottas. To the outside he goes. Bottas no point defending, as Piastri overtakes George Russell here for that podium position. Lawson versus Norris though. Norris round the outside, easy as that, and he's even overtaken Verstappen during Curva Grande. 2 moves, 1 corner for the V-carb, but now out of the final Lesmo. Leclerc DRS once again on Bottas. Will he go to the inside? Yes, yes he will. As you can just see, it's a massive DRS train. This is the closest the whole field has been all season after the first 5 laps, as you can just see how it's just one big snake, as Leclerc and Piastri all get DRS, but Bottas left in the dust here, as Norris jawling Russell. Russell going backwards in a straight line. Shows where Ferrari really lacks here. At their home GP, they're working their way backwards, especially against their constructors rivals of V-carb, as Norris has promoted himself into P4. And now Piastri to the inside of Leclerc. Could we see a change up for the lead? We've had 4, I think it is, and 4 winners this season. 3 times for Leclerc, Norris and Russell, and then only 1 time for Porsche, who is currently 18th. Piastri now leads, however. Bottas overtakes Leclerc. He drops 3 places into the first few corners. Norris really looking racy, however, he's trying to push his way up into the lead here. As you can see, they're all on mediums. They're going to treat the first stint like it's the sprint race, and then the undercut's going to start coming in. Norris takes the lead, Bottas into second. As you can see here, the Sauber's dropping off from the lead train. Lawson to the inside of Hamilton. He's up into P7 still. He's hanging on. DRS on all of them for Verstappen. Hamilton to the outside of his teammate. Up he goes. Lawson down the inside of Hamilton's teammate, and also up he goes. As this is going to be a race full of overtakes. We've already had a good 15 or so in the first 8 laps, and probably even more than that, as Bottas now DRS on, not Bottas DRS, Norris DRS on Bottas, unable to make a move there. However, it's a right old drag race up into Parabolica. They go. Piastri down the inside of Norris. Can he get the move done? They will get DRS for this straight, however. Norris goes to the outside. Bottas swerves to the inside, however, probably fending off Piastri in motion. As Perez, he's made a massive jump. He was P12 at the start of lap 8. He's P7 now at the end of sector 1 of lap 9. Perez making some really big moves there, which could pay dividends in the long run of this race. And now Lawson, the McLaren, trying to fight back. Up into P7 he goes, as this is literally the definition of NASCAR if it came to F1, which I'm all up for, I'll be honest. As Bottas, DRS there to the outside of Norris, swiftly making the move. As Leclerc versus Piastri, through Curve Grande they go. Up into P3 goes Leclerc. Hamilton, he's overtaken George Russell, as this is just one mighty drag race, as the amount of battles dictate whether or not trains form or dissipate. As Verstappen, he seems to have quite a lack of pace here. Yuki Tsunoda up into P10 goes the Mercedes. Sainz overtakes Lawson, as that Williams did look quick in the sprint race, especially in a straight line, but wasn't quick enough to overtake. Lawson to the outside of Perez, Sainz down the inside, and he fails to get into P8 here. Ferrari really falling apart here, which is a surprise. They're 2 points off VCARB in the championship. They're currently 6th and 8th in this race. Perez has worked his way up the field quite nicely. He started 17th here. I think it was 16th due to Porsche's pit lane start. And now he's up in P7. But Russell, he just hasn't had the pace to properly try and overtake. So strategy is going to come into play here. Leclerc to the inside of Bottas. He's up into the lead. Once again, mechanical fault for Pierre Gasly, as Porsche and Ricciardo's had a moment, by the looks of it. As cars are using curbs to full extent, that's giving them like underfloor damage here. As this is your real test as to whether who's the quicker car. Bottas overtaking Leclerc into Ascari. Hamilton now going to get a run, but Norris has a better run than the Sauber of Hamilton. Norris now DRS on Leclerc, who's dropped off a fair bit from Bottas. Bottas gets a breather this time round, as he's unable to make a move. Liam Lawson to the inside of Perez. Will he make it stick this time? He's currently doing so. Through Curve Grande they go. Perez just better traction. He's up. Still in P7. Verstappen overtakes Lawson in process. This is the stage of the race where the McLarens work their way backwards, and as a result could be the death of them in this race. Alonso to the inside of Lawson. Instead defends Yuki through Ascari. As for those who are watching, who do you think will win? I don't actually know who to put my money on here, because just a look at them into turn 1 and 2. 2 by 2 for Norris, Leclerc, Piastri, Hamilton. Norris is going to lead them forward though, and gives Bottas a chance to run away. He now has a 1.3 second lead here. Norris to the inside in Lesmos of Leclerc. He's up into P2, but Leclerc now DRS on the VCARB. Big chance to regain the place. To the inside he goes. Easy pickings there, as Russell up into P5. And now Norris really trying to find a way back past Leclerc. Bottas has found 3 seconds on that previous lap, as he does fastest a lap for good measure. Lando Norris to the outside of Leclerc. Leclerc even has Piastri down the inside. Russell and Hamilton switch, but Hamilton forces him off. And on the other side of the Ferrari story, Perez fending off Verstappen beautifully into turn 1. He manages to now start to pull away from the Sauber. As Leclerc to the inside of Norris, will it be P2? No, it won't. Norris, this is a great chance to increase your championship lead over George Russell. And this is also a great chance for Leclerc to start chipping away at George Russell once again. Leclerc overtakes Norris. Norris having Piastri for company. Piastri round the outside for Lesmos and up into P3 he goes. Second Lesmo though is still nip and tuck, but Piastri has got it. To the inside he goes on Leclerc. Bottas, really comfortable leader. He's on the hards and he's burning tyres up as if they're soft, so they're all doing sprint race strategies here. Antonelli's your first to pit. He's going to try and jump his way into the top 10. As there's Perez fighting Russell through the first few corners. Hamilton overtakes Leclerc. And now you can see the true depth of this race. As it's a relentless fight up and down field. There are now more distinct trains. I'd say top 7 is one fight. 8th down to 12th. Then 13th down to 18th here. As Albon down the inside of Hadjar there, up into P13 he goes. This is a great race for a driver to make a name for themselves in this season. Antonelli unfortunately could have done that in sprint, but it was cut short due to Oscar Piastri, no, not Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc, where they made contact into Ascari, saw them both out of contention for that sprint win. As you can see there, Sainz has had a poor exit. Porsche has moved himself up into P15 here. As just a bit further up the field, Fernando Alonso fending off Max Verstappen here. Verstappen, DRS, to the inside he goes. Is it going to be P8? Not yet. But it is definitely coming for the Sauber. He is getting closer and closer every single time we see him attempt it. As it's going to be a mighty old drag race to first corner. Verstappen to the outside of Alonso. He's put Alonso in a position where he can't defend. Up into P8 he goes. Yuki Tsunoda, however, overtakes Liam Lawson. This is a very big move for Mercedes, as it gives them a chance to catch Williams, who are currently 14th and 15th in this race. As it will be Yuki Tsunoda bagging another point for the Silver Arrows. Alonso overtakes Verstappen again. Verstappen's advantage really didn't last long here, as this race has now gone to Piastri versus Norris, Leclerc versus Hamilton, Russell versus Perez. So it's really died down up front. Good chance for Bottas to start harvesting tyres a bit, but it looks like he's just going to keep gunning for it. I'll be honest, if everyone else is going about half distance on mediums, Bottas can go half and half hards and mediums. So this should be a one stop. As Leclerc, however, tries to overtake Hamilton, but Russell being able to overtake Perez. On the other hand, Perez going to try and fight back though, unable to do so. As into the pits comes your race leader. Big chance to undercut. Leclerc and Hamilton follow them through. As, if I'm right, Leclerc and Hamilton onto the hards. Bottas, however, he's going to have to try and manage the mediums to the end. As Bottas has actually came out in a great place. Antonelli fastest lap. Bottas ahead of this group. Leclerc and Hamilton behind him. So they're going to catch him. As this is where strategy does come in alongside placement. As there's Behrman up into P11. He's now doing quite well for the Aston Martins. Looking like a fairly favourable race. Andrea Antonelli also doing well. He's up into P18. He's ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who was in the battle between him and, I think it was Leclerc actually over some decent points, about P4, P5. As now, the gap between leaders only a tenth. Norris versus Piastri to the outside for Ascari. He goes unable. No, Ascari, Parabolica. He goes unable to do it. Colapinto versus Yuki, however, and Alonso over P5. DRS for the Mercedes and the McLaren as they both try to overtake the Aston Martin. As Alonso placing it perfectly. Bottas overtaking Verstappen up into P8 he goes. He's really dismantling this field with ease, and I think it is a 2-stop for that Haas. And if it is, we are in for a treat come the end of this race, because he is trying to punch a hole in the air over Leclerc and Hamilton, and then also punch a hole in the leaders' advantage for when they pit. Lando Norris, however, pits quite swiftly after George Russell and Perez stay out for another lap though. Perez to the inside with DRS. It's surely P2. It will be P2, but Russell fends off. He stays ahead of his teammate. And Bottas, from being about 5 or so seconds ahead when he pitted of this group, he is now right up their chaff. And now Bottas, DRS on Sergio Perez. To the inside he will surely go. No, he won't. Colapinto, however, to the inside of Alonso, up into P5 for the McLaren, but no, Verstappen gets better run on the exit as Alonso managed to hang on. But Verstappen back down. Perez, Piastri, Alonso, Colapinto and Verstappen all pitting. Let's see who comes out ahead out of these three. McLaren known for fastest pit stop, as they currently hold it this season. They're out ahead of Alonso and Verstappen, as it looked like a fairly slow stop for the Aston Martins, as there's Perez coming out just behind Liam Lawson. As Hamilton fighting Antonelli here, round the outside for Lesmos. Will it be P7? Not yet, but DRS now for Hamilton or Antonelli, who also has it on Porsche Air, so it kind of does nothing here. Who currently hasn't pitted, nor has Tsunoda or Russell. Talking about pitting, Russell into the pits. So will the Mercedes. Porsche, however, stays out. Where does Russell come out? He's out behind Piastri. Will he be out behind Perez? No, but you can see there's Perez as Lawson tries to come out ahead of Russell. Russell says no to that request as they fight through Curva Grande. To the inside is Lawson, but Russell just slivers his way past. But look, Lawson fighting back. The Kiwi knows he needs to score points for McLaren, as he will now lead the two Ferraris down into Ascari. And that will make a massive scar for Ferrari's hopes in this race. As currently Leclerc and Norris on the hards. They're 11 seconds behind Valtteri Bottas here, who I'm pretty sure is going to pit again around lap 37 to really split this race into 2 stops. And if he does win from it, boy oh boy, he has worked his socks off here. But Norris trying to work his socks off as he moves up into P2. Antonelli in P4. This is a great outcome for the Haas if he can make it stick, but he's on another stop alongside his teammate. That's the Haas strategy coming into play as Antonelli fastest lap, Leclerc up into P2. Hamilton trying to look round the outside of Antonelli though. Looks to the inside for the chicane, unable to get past as of now. Leclerc also going to try and really cut that gap down to Bottas. But if Bottas started on hards and went about 20 laps, those on the hards could be facing problems coming to the end, because Bottas is the only one with hard running here, as Leclerc fastest lap Alonso versus Colapinto and Verstappen reunites here, but however this time it's for P10 rather than a place or two higher. Liam Lawson and Antonelli both undercutting quite severely. Colapinto to the inside, will it be double McLaren points? Currently Alonso says no, but down the inside through the Curva Grande is Colapinto, but he will have to wait a while longer. The Aston Martin knows what he has to do, and he's doing everything in his power to do it. Hamilton dueling with Antonelli here. That's Hamilton up into P4 for the foreseeable future. Piastri now casually catching them as Russell and Perez fighting so hard they aren't actually escaping. Liam Lawson, who now has some DRS, and overtakes George Russell, but Russell will force him off the track. As there's Colapinto, who is now ahead of Alonso and Verstappen here. Porsche, can he try and make quick moves on Isaac Hadjar? As for the first part of this race, it was all nip and tuck, but now it's a bit more open as it comes to really who's the stronger car in 1v1 battles out on track. There's a few fights over 3 cars, but yeah, there's Perez overtaking Russell once more. Liam Lawson though, DRS on them, but just too far back. Norris and Leclerc 8 seconds off Valtteri Bottas. They've gained about 2 seconds in 4 laps. It's a decent gain, but currently, as things stands, if Bottas was to pit now, he should be coming out around Oscar Piastri for some good measure. Antonelli should have pitted by the time Bottas comes in, and Antonelli will actually see himself down in about P16 here. As Leclerc versus Norris. As said in the previous race, they have seen many battles this season, but the championship gap between them is over 40 points. Norris overtakes Leclerc. Just shows how Leclerc could actually be a title contender if he can start getting results in, because he did have that big gap in form. Imola, Monaco, Spain, just nothing went his way. And now Red Bull seem to be back, as Piastri P4 with fastest lap here. As Hamilton and Antonelli continue their duel over P5, which is really nice to see, but not as nice as 2 Ferraris fighting over 7th here in front of the Tifosi. The Tifosi probably having one eye open as they watch it and one eye closed, as they're getting perilously close to overboiling it and letting it spill all over and maybe cause a crash. As Perez now DRS on George Russell. He looked to the inside, Russell covers off. If Perez broke late, he would have taken both out of the Italian GP, and that wouldn't have been what they'd want. As the gap between first and second, 7 seconds now, they'd still come out roughly around Russell now, I'd say, as this could be a charge and a half for the Hasses if they make it work. Because I'll be honest, Bottas has drove a really good race. He drove a great race in the sprint. He's doing 1 step higher in the main race. He came second in the sprint as well. Is he going to take it 1 step higher post-race here? I'm not I could be foreshadowing. Who knows? As Antonelli gets it with a mechanical fault. Leclerc to the inside of Norris. Currently stuck in P3. As now, great chance to overtake. DRS for Leclerc. To the outside he goes. Up into P2 he goes. And now Bottas, he's got 5.5 seconds. Perez fastest a lap here. As yeah. Just adjusting my window. That's why I've gone quiet. And yeah, this race still has a good, I'd say 17 laps of close racing rather than open-ended. As Antonelli's dropping through the field. Let's have one more glance at the tyres. Antonelli probably in this lap and Bottas in next lap. As Antonelli, he stays out a while longer. It's getting very close to possibly Haas double stacking. If that does happen, then they could be in some danger. As all the fighting is further back. Porsche up into P12. Can he make it P11? DRS on Colapinto. Unable to get past. However, the fight continues. Porsche now to the inside. Both Hasses double stacking here, as it seems to have worked perfectly. Bottas comes out P8 and 24 back on Norris, so it's 26 seconds of stop here. Can Bottas work his way up to get the win here? As you can look at tyre percentages, they're all running quite tight in this race. They could be on the knife's edge come the end. Bottas can relentlessly push for 15 laps, as you can already see. He's caught up with Liam Lawson, who's in P7. He's really in a land of his own. The McLaren TV has distinctly said Lawson needs to score a point, otherwise he's gone. And currently he's going to be scoring 4 extra than what he's meant to do, as Colapinto is fighting over his second point this season. This is a great chance for McLaren to score something big, because they haven't all season. If they can come home P8, it could be a start of their push, as next race will be Spa, which is another great chance at overtaking, as it's also a fairly high speed based circuit, but then also quite a heavy circuit on downforce as well. As Bottas has actually disposed of Lawson, as Perez disposes of Hamilton. Perez now up into P4. Will George Russell follow suit swiftly after, as Bottas, his next group to catch and overtake is this fight over P4. If he can do that, then the race is all open-ended. Russell and Hamilton both having a glance on Perez, but you can just see Bottas becoming bigger and bigger in the background. For people who are watching, for those 4 who are, comment in the chat who you think will win, and those who are watching post-event, comment who you think will win. I'm gonna say it's Lando Norris who will win 2 in a row here. As yeah, I'm just gonna open up some of the constructors and drivers statistics. But yeah, currently, if Hamilton comes 4th or even 5th and Perez comes in 7th, Hamilton will actually be 2 points off him in the standings. Porsche is guaranteed to drop behind Hamilton on the basis Hamilton finishes in top 8. On the basis he finishes in top 7 actually, which is where he is, as Bottas has chewed his way straight past him. He's already passed Russell, almost past Perez here, as Bottas could actually overtake Verstappen here, as there's a yellow for Alonso running wide. Bottas up into P5, Hamilton fending off on Russell still. He's going to do it for now. And now Bottas DRS opportunity on Sergio Perez. He will need to start working his way through the field quite quickly now, as there's 19 seconds. He needs to do about 2 seconds a lap here if he wants to win. Will he do it though? Perez fights back. That's Perez really trying to hold him up. But then surely, if I was Ferrari, I'd let him by with the hope that he can actually catch Lando Norris and take away 7 points. That's just me though. But Perez, he's pulled away from Hamilton and Russell, and actually now trying to fight Bottas here, as Valtteri is beginning to catch Piastri. But Leclerc and Piastri are both falling back from Lando Norris. Bottas goes off the road due to an event of squeezing. Yuki Tsunoda overtaking Fernando Alonso. Don't mind if they do, as there's Yuki, maybe up into P10, but no, he's currently hanging on to P11, as Alonso just a bit better in terms of defence as Bottas. I think he's now clear of Perez. Now it's time for him to hunt down the lead. He is gaining about 2 seconds or so as of last lap. Just hope this pace continues. And then we could see a last lap duel over the win. Russell forced wide by Hamilton. Not good at all for George Russell's driver's campaign. But what is good is Red Bull. They are currently second and third. They're in good points at the moment. This is probably going to be their best result of the season since Japan, where they had both cars on podium. They haven't had that since. And that was second race of the season. Just shows how big of a step back Red Bull has taken as of recent. Oscar Piastri will massively be catching Fernando Alonso as well, as there's Russell down the inside of Hamilton. Will he get moved done, or will Hamilton squeeze him? Hamilton doesn't have to squeeze this time, he just gets moved done, as Bottas again catches about 2 seconds on previous lap. As Piastri is getting a wiggle on, he's going to try and catch Leclerc, because he knows Bottas is coming at a rate of knots. As there's a yellow flag out on track. I can't lie, I think we're all waiting for a safety car, because then everyone would probably go onto the softs and it would be a literal running race to the line. But currently we do have it in a fair few places of this order, such as Lawson and Verstappen fighting over P8 here. As you can see, Lawson trying to get back on the Sauber, but the Sauber just better pace. As said numerous times, so many cars just out of place with that quality. We saw it in sprint and saw Antonelli crash out as a result. But yeah, it really does look like Norris has dropped the amount of time Bottas is gaining. So it could just be second place here for the Haas, which is still a good result. Or you let the Red Bulls fight and hope they crash. Perez, however, he's just off pace. Piastri did push Leclerc off, that gave Bottas P3. Now Bottas just has to dispose of Piastri really this lap and then go full ham. As now we enter the final 5 or so laps here of Monza. 14 seconds between Bottas and Norris. Well, 15 I'll say is a nicer number to give rather than trying around it. So yeah, Bottas has passed Piastri. Piastri now trying to defend Leclerc. I personally think Piastri needs a podium. He's got one this season and it was P3. He hasn't got any other podiums. And that P3 came in Japan. So yeah, he's really been the back mark of the two Red Bulls. He kind of needs this result over Charles Leclerc. But Charles Leclerc is having none of it. As now, it's simply just a fight between these three. over P2 here. Bottas hanging on against Charles Leclerc. Leclerc sits in third. Piastri changes that quite quickly as he moves up to third. As Lawson has dropped off from Verstappen as he's caught up with Hamilton. The two Saubers may be trying to have a little battle at the end of this race. Verstappen on 51 points, Hamilton on 93. But based off the outcome of this, Hamilton could be a big step closer to the 100 as Verstappen overtakes Hamilton. As Verstappen is trying to keep as close to Piastri as he can in the standings. Bottas is also having a really big result, so that's going to be a big threat for the likes of Sauber. As I can actually see Haas go for 5th in the Constructors now, because Bottas P2 here, he's gained 18 points on the Aston who scored 85. They'll only be 30 odd points off. They need 1 or 2 double points. They're both in the top 10, well, top 8. They could be right up behind them. Or even Bottas banging in more of these top 5 finishes, as Bottas's best finish this season is 4th. As we see here, Piastri versus Bottas. Norris, he's going to win the 4th race of this, for the 4th time this season. Bottas had a good run for his money, but the 2-stop, clearly not the strategy. But there's a safety car. Bottas P2 as a result. What has happened though? I think it's Colapinto. Yes, it is. He is out of the race here. Let's have a look when it shows up. He's beached it in the final, not on the first corner. That does mean Liam Lawson will become known P9. Lando Norris, he's gonna lead the safety car to the finish line here. As its final lap, that's the racing neutralised. Norris now picks up the rest of the field, which probably won't happen this lap. We'll probably see the top 3 behind him catch him, but it will mean Oscar Piastri gets his 2nd podium of the season, as it will be P3 over Leclerc. Great thing he made that move at the last gasp. Antonelli so shy of points, 1.4 off Porsche. As we can see now, Lando Norris behind the safety car. Round the final corner for the final time today. It's going to be Lando Norris who wins in Monza. Bottas 2nd, Piastri 3rd, Charles Leclerc in 4th, Perez down in 5th. He leads the Tifosi home. Russell 6th, Sauber 7th, 8th. With Liam Lawson, 1st points of the season for the McLaren. He's in P9. Terry Porsche P10. Antonelli 11th. Alonso 12th. Tsunoda 13th. Behrman 14th. Hadjar 15th. Albon behind in 16th. Ricciardo 17th. Sainz 18th. Then Pierre Gasly, last but not least, in P19. Well, that's a disappointing end. But yeah,
Sometimes I think
that's just how races go sometimes. Lando Norris wins with Bottas, Piastri, Leclerc, Perez, Russell, Verstappen, Hamilton, Lawson, Porsche, Antonelli, Alonso, Tsunoda, Behrman, Hadjar, Albon, Ricciardo, Sainz, Gasly, Colapinto, being the 1 DNF. For those who have watched, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all probably later, around 7:30 or so, for the final race of the day at Spa. Goodbye.